afternoon, everyone. So we're going to make a start now. I'm sure some of you don't know me. My name is Saida Mello. I'm just here to introduce Stuart today. I'm just going to say a few things before I introduce him. I've known Stuart, I think, for about 5 years now. We actually met at a Toastmasters international event. So if you don't know Toastmasters, please do Google it. It's a public speaking event. And Stuart was always one of our best speakers at those events. So I've known him for 5 years, and he's coached me on and off during that period. I also chaired a minority ethnic group network at work, and Stuart supported me with that for about 2 to 3 years. So I think some of you in the audience did actually have the good fortune of listening to Stuart in those events as well. So since then, I've had, on and off coaching relationship with Stuart. He's helped me with so many goals, including very recently buying my own property, despite yes. So that was my big goal of 2021. And today I'm here with my 2 children who are 13 and 12, because they went on that incredible journey with me when I had that big goal and the aspirations to buy the property. With the help and coaching from Stuart, I was actually able to do that, and that's why I brought them today. So I just want to hand over to Stuart. I'm really looking forward to what he's going to share with us today. So over to you, Stuart. Thank you.
Thank you, Saida. Just want to check that everyone can hear me at the back. I'm just wondering whether I need to use the mic or not. Can you actually hear me at the back if I'm speaking naturally, or would you prefer if I use the mic? The mic, we're going to use it. I'm going to have to be multifaceted here. Saida, thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you for the journey that we've shared together for a number of years. I've been supporting you, but you also support me. A lot of the people in the room today are here because Saida invited you. And I really appreciate, actually, all of you being here today. We're starting a little bit late because some people have told me they think it starts at 2:30. We're going to start just a little bit late for you, but a little bit early for them, and that's fine, because by the time they get here, we'll be on to the main part of the presentation. So before I actually begin, what I want to do is ask you a couple of questions. I want to ask you questions because I want you to think about why you're here. My intention is to give you something valuable today, give you new awareness of something about yourself, something about life, something about your goals. A new awareness about your mindset. That's my intention, but I want to know what your intention is for being here. So I want to ask you a couple of questions that you answer for yourself. Why are you here today? Not like, oh, why am I here? It's such a nice day. What am I doing here on Sunday afternoon? Maybe I shouldn't have been here. Not that kind of why. Why am I here? What reason brought me here? What do I want to get out of today? Because when we set an intention, when we ask ourselves, when we ask our own mind the why question, it will answer it if we're listening. But often we don't ask those kind of questions of ourselves. What do I want? And then perhaps another more difficult question to ask yourself. What is it that you are not doing right now? What is it that you're putting off? What is it that you've not decided to do that you'd like to do? That if you did it would change your life. See, another difficult question we often don't ask ourselves is, why am I not doing what I want to do? We all have things that we'd love to do. Actually, hands up, if you will. Who here believes that they have the potential to do more, be more, and have more? Just a show of hands. Who believes they have the potential? Yeah, pretty much everybody, because we do. We know we have the potential. So what's the more difficult question? Why are you not fulfilling your potential? What stops you? Because as human beings, there's always something that stops us in life. Stops us from making that decision, stops us from doing more, from being more. And I'm going to show you what that is. So let me just make sure the slides are working. They are. So I've divided the presentation into 3 parts. I'm going to talk about the dreams, the goals, the aspirations that we all have, and then I'm going to talk about your mind and how your mind stops you, but also how you can use it to achieve what you want to achieve. So our mind works for us and against us. And then I'm going to show you how to use your mind to actually achieve what you want. But the reason I'm asking you that question, what is it you want? Why are you here? Is because if you ask yourself that question and you come up with an answer, you are going to listen differently and you're going to hear things differently than if you just were here listening to me. So what I'm really saying is listen from your goals. Listen from your reason why you're here. Don't just listen to me, but listen from your own mind, your own goals. What do you want? And in the 3rd part of the seminar, I'm going to show you some techniques for doing that, for how do you achieve your biggest goals. So why can I do this? Who am I to be able to do this? Now, Sada's already mentioned that she's been coached by me for a number of years and has achieved some significant goals for herself. When I was about 27, I was living in Australia. I was a sports journalist. I wasn't very good. And I was in a relationship, and I wasn't very good at that either. In fact, I didn't really think I was much good at anything. That was just my opinion of myself. And one day, I heard on the radio an advert for a personal development seminar like this. And it sounded so good, I wanted to go. I thought, this is going to help me. This is going to change my life. Or at least I hoped it would. But when I went to the seminar in downtown Sydney, I had this kind of panic attack. What was I getting into? Why was I doing this? And I stood outside the hotel room, a bit like this, and I walked up and down the street for at least 15 minutes, arguing with myself. You know, that little voice in the head that goes off. Why are you doing this? Are you sure this is a good idea? You shouldn't really be doing this. Don't. The negative thoughts that we often get that talk us out of the thing that we want to do. You're all familiar with the little voice, right? Yes, nods, yeah. And if you're not, it's that little voice saying, what little voice? It's always there. It's always switched on. It's always asking us, why are you doing this? Why do you think you can do this? Who are you to think you can do that? And holding us back, making us scared, making us uncertain. So I argued with myself, and I eventually won. I went into the seminar, listened to the guy who was doing what I'm doing right now, and effectively it changed my life. I got introduced to a book, a couple of books by him. One was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Anybody read that? I know some people have read that. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And these were personal development books that really changed the way I thought about myself and the way I thought about life. And it made such a huge difference that I went on a journey for the rest of my life, 35 years of being a student of personal development. I love the material, I love the ideas, I love the life-transforming ideas that I got. And at some point, I thought to myself, I'd love to be doing what he did. And I did more seminars. I'd love to be up there speaking like they do. But I was too scared to do it. I didn't know how I could do that. I liked the idea that I could, that I would want to, but I didn't know how. And I was scared of trying. But for 25 years, I studied, I went to seminars, I read all the books, and this idea kept eating away at me. And then I was living in America, and I met someone called Bob Proctor. Hands again. Anyone know of Bob Proctor? Yeah, a lot of people. Those of you that have done Think Into Results with me, of course you know. I went to a seminar that he did, and he started talking about these 2 books that transformed my life. Think and Grow Rich and Psycho-Cybernetics. And a third one, Creative Visualization by Shakti Gawain. And I thought, oh, he knows what I know. He knows a lot more than I knew. He knows about the material I've been studying for 25 years. So I chose to study with him. And at that point, I'm thinking again that I wanted to do what he was doing. and thinking again, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough, I'm not willing to do that, I'm not willing to make the big decision and do what he's doing. And then I had we'd call it maybe an epiphany. I had an accident on the freeway, the 101 freeway in Phoenix. It was a 7-car pileup. The car was broken down in the fast lane on a blind bend and we slammed into it. Nobody was badly injured, but it was frightening, and it gave you the sense of how precious life is and how little time sometimes we have. And maybe we should pursue our dreams, do the things we really want to do. So at that point, I started studying with Bob, and a year later, I joined his company as a trainer, as a speaker, as a personal development mentor, using his material because it was the material that had changed my life previously. But I still didn't do what I'm doing now. I still didn't teach it. I was trained to teach it, but I was too scared to teach it. I was too scared to get up in seminars and talk about it. I couldn't do that. And then the universe, as it has a way of doing, right, nudged me again. I got made redundant from the newspaper I was working on in Phoenix. It was a time of economic contraction. I got laid off. And it was at that moment I was going to have to leave America anyway because I no longer had a job. I wasn't an American citizen. I'm going to have to leave. I had to make a big decision. And finally, this time I made the decision that I would work with Bob for his company, teaching what he teaches because it had transformed his life, transformed my life. And the reason I'm saying this is because we all are on a journey of discovery, a journey of awareness. And there are moments in our life when we know there's something we want to do and we're scared of doing it. And I've been there several times. And I'm going to show you why the mind holds us back. You know, we can have that dream, we can have that idea of what we really want, and yet we hold ourselves back from doing it. Well, it's our mind working against us, but we can use our mind to actually work for us and help us achieve that. I'm going to show you how to do that. So, a journey of transformation, the hero's journey, it's really the story that all literature and all films are about. That each one of us is on our own journey through life. And we really are the star in our own movie. We are the hero of our own journey, but we don't know it. We often sit there questioning ourselves, what is it I really want to do? What should I be doing? Am I doing it right? Am I going the right way? The purpose of our life, I believe, is really to grow in awareness of who we are. It's to understand ourselves better. And in doing so, not just follow our own dreams, but also make a difference to other people. But we have to be willing to know what it is we want. And this is a problem that a lot of people face. They're not sure whether they can do what they want to do. But going back to the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, one of the quotes that really stood out for me in my life was this one: whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Which is a pretty remarkable statement. Whatever you can think up, whatever you can dream, you can have it. But the key word here is believe. If you believe you can have it and do it, you can. If you don't, you won't. But it's a pretty remarkable, powerful statement. Whatever the mind can conceive, it can achieve. But as I keep saying, the mind works against us as well as for us. It will tell us why we can't do it more loudly than it will tell us why we can. So let's look at this big question first of all. What is it you really want? It's a question that people will ask sometimes, but not very deeply. What do you really want? If you could have anything, if in a year's time your life was the way you wanted it, what would that look like? See, we'll often say that we don't really believe that we can achieve much in a short amount of time. That we over-exaggerate what we can achieve in maybe 10 years' time. Oh, I can do this. I can be a millionaire. I can start up a new tech company. I can create a business. Because we're projecting way into the future. But we don't always believe that we're capable of achieving a lot in a short amount of time. But just think, in a year from now, if you were living your ideal life, if you were doing what you really wanted to do, you were making progress in that, what would that look like? This is where you want to begin looking. What do I want? What do I really want? Bob Proctor would often say that if you do what I tell you to do, if you do exactly what I tell you, that in a year's time you'll need a telescope to look back and see how far you've come. We really do have the capability, the potential to do much more than we're doing. We just don't believe it. So just think for yourself, what is it you would really like to do? What do I want? And often people will say, I don't know what I want. I'm not sure. I haven't decided. I can't work it out. I don't know. But that's not true. Most of the time, that's not true. You do know what you want, but you don't believe it's possible, so you don't give it much attention. You don't pay it attention. You don't focus on it. You don't think about how you can, because there's this little voice in the head saying, you can never do that. You're not good enough to do that. You're not ready to do that. Let's wait. It doesn't always say this, but it's like, let's procrastinate. Let's not do this right now. We're all familiar with that, right? Because the human mind works the same for everybody. Look, everybody's mind works the same way. It really does. Everybody's mind is incredibly powerful. The difference is how we use it, not the mind itself. It's what's the little voice? What are the words, the beliefs that we're listening to that hold us back? What is the voice saying that you're listening to that has you not believe in yourself? We've all agreed we have the potential to do more and be more. But why are we not doing it? Because we're listening to the little voice that tells you can't. And there's people in the room that I've worked with that I know as I look around, and I know I've heard you say that. Well, I'm not sure I can do that. I don't think I can do that. I don't believe I can do that. And then you go and prove yourself wrong, right? You prove yourself wrong by actually doing the thing you said you didn't think you could do. But here's the strange thing. You could do that once, and the next time you'll convince yourself you can't do the next thing. Well, I did that. That's fine. That was easy enough. I could do that. I can't do the next thing. I have a client who works for the Shell Oil Company. He's been a client of mine since 2015, 2016. Every 2 years, he gets moved around to another job. Every 2 years, he comes back to me and says, I want to get a promotion. I don't want to be sidelined, but I don't think I'm good enough. Every 2 years, he says the same thing. I'm not good enough. He's absolutely brilliant from where I stand, from what I see and what he does for his company. He just doesn't believe he's good enough for the next level of his career. And yet the evidence points that he is. So you will have all recognized that in yourself at some point. The imposter syndrome, they're not good enough for that. The voice in your head telling you that you can't do something. So I'm going to show you why that voice is false, that it's not the truth of who you are. Life, I think, is a 3-act play. Everything that we do in life is done by story. We tell stories. There are 3 parts, beginning, middle, and end. Very simple. And in what I teach, I try to make it as simple as possible. So I have this idea about the 3D of success, 3 dimensions of success. Success in 3D. Why? Because I came up with 3 words that start with D. That's simple, but it's memorable. We need to make this as simple as possible, because if we overcomplicate what we're trying to do, our mind will work against us and trick us, confuse us, stop us. It will do everything it can to stop you from doing something new that you've never done before. It will do this, and I'll show you why. So desire. The first thing is what we've been talking about. What do you want? Do you want it enough? Do you have a strong enough desire? So Napoleon Hill, and I'll keep referring to him, Think and Grow Rich, he said, to be really successful, the most successful people have a burning desire for something. They really want it. There's something they really want, and they have a reason why they want it. And it's that reason, that purpose, that strong emotional purpose that will allow you to get what you want. Without a strong emotional purpose, what we sometimes call the why. If any of you have read Simon Sinek's book, it starts with why. It really does. Why are you doing this? Why do you want this? See, sometimes we will say, well, this is what I want, and then we say something negative, but not going to happen because. Well, the only reason you're not doing it is because you don't have a strong enough reason yet for doing it. So a strong desire is your starting point. Then you need to make a decision, which human beings struggle to do. We procrastinate, we talk ourselves out of things, we're quite indecisive at times, particularly when it's about something we've never done before, something that scares us, something that creates doubt in our mind. We put it off. We think, well, I'd like to do that, but I'm not ready. I'll do that next year. I'll think about it later. Recognize those thoughts, right? I'll think about it later. If you're going to do something significant in your life, if you're going to achieve something that you really want, you're going to have to make a decision. Not hope it will happen, not see if it will happen, make a committed decision. Now, there's a difference between someone who's interested in achieving something and someone who's committed to achieving something. The person who's interested will do what's convenient. The person who's committed, who's going to make it happen, is going to do whatever it takes, and that's where determination comes in. Determination, persistence. You've got to bring some consistency to your actions. See, when you make a decision, you decide what you want, you make a decision, the voice is going off in the head, part of your mind is telling you why you can't do this, you're going to start listening to it and give in. People quit. But if you have a reason, if you've committed to do something, and you bring that determination, that persistence, that's what will help you get past the voice that's telling you you can't. And this is so important, not just for you, but also for the people that you support, the people you work with, the people around you, the people closest to you. We can sometimes help others more easily than we can help ourselves. We can see where people are starting to doubt themselves and give them that confidence and support. And it helps if you know what's going on in their mind. It really helps to be able to understand how people's minds work. So it's not just about you, it's also about the people that are important to you. So decision, let's look at this. They say it's one of the hardest things for people to do, to make a decision. Why? Because most of the time, before you make a decision, you want to know how you're going to do it. As human beings, we look at it and we say, well, I'll decide, but I need to work out how it's going to happen. People put off taking on projects, taking on big goals, doing something dramatic in their life because they don't know how they're going to do it. They may say, I want to live in a different country. I want to start a business, but I need to figure out how I'm going to do that before I decide. Wrong way round. So in the 1960s, when the Americans were involved in the space race, the story goes that the president at the time, John F. Kennedy, asked the head of the American Space Agency what would it take to send a rocket to the moon, to land astronauts on the surface and bring them home safely. The simple answer was the will to do it. He didn't come up with all the technical know-how, he didn't come up with the reasons why not, he didn't come up with the money or anything like that. It was if you have the will to do it, you can find the way. And in fact, if your goal is big enough, you shouldn't know how you're going to achieve it. If you know how you're going to achieve your goal, it's not big enough. You want to set yourself something bigger. Because what we say is that the purpose of a goal isn't just to get something. The real purpose of a goal is to grow. It's to grow in awareness of who you are. It's to grow as a human being. Because when you set yourself a big enough goal that you don't know how to achieve, you're going to have to draw on something inside of you that you didn't know was there. You're going to have to find some extra resources inside of you. But the truth is, they are there. If you have a big dream, if you have a big goal for yourself that you're not pursuing yet, but you love the idea of it, you can achieve it because it's coming from inside of you. And if it's coming from inside of you, It must be yours. You must be able to find a way to get it. Now you might say, well, that doesn't sound right. That's not true. Sometimes there are things that people just can't achieve. Well, then maybe they didn't really want them. Maybe they didn't really believe it was possible. But if you love the idea, if you have a dream that you love, and it keeps coming back to you, it is yours, or it wouldn't show up. It's not about copying someone else. Oh, I'd like that person who's got lots of money, lots of cars, nice houses. It's about looking inside yourself. What do you want? Why do you want it? Commit to it, take action on it, and you will find the way. So these two guys, this is a good example of how this works. The first people to climb Mount Everest, Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary. It took them 3 attempts. They didn't know how. They didn't know the way. No one knew the way. But they discovered how because they wanted to. After 1 or 2 attempts failing, they could have easily said, well, it's not possible. Nobody else has done it. We've tried, can't do it, not possible. They wanted it enough that they kept working until they figured out how. So when you set yourself a big goal, what you might call your summit goal, your peak goal, you won't know how to get there. But if you're willing to take action, the way will show up. See, when you take action towards a goal, what happens is your conscious awareness goes to the level of the goal. I'll say a little bit more about this because it's a little bit complicated in the way I just said it then. You become aware consciously of how you're going to get there. Maybe not the first attempt or the second attempt, but you start to get new ideas because you're thinking of your goal. You're not thinking of, I can't do this. You're thinking of, I want it. If you think it often enough, take enough action, you will become aware of how to do it. There is actually a quote about this. I'm going to read this. That's the beginning of the quote and the end of the quote on the PowerPoint. This was actually by William Murray, who tried to climb Everest 2 years before in 1951. So he was part of the Scottish Himalayan expedition that was looking for the way up Everest that Edmund Hillary actually used. But he says this quote, and many of you may have heard this before: until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. The moment one definitely commits, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of incidents, meetings, material assistance, which no one could have dreamt would have come their way. Whatever you can do, or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. So he's speaking then about commitment, about making decisions, about believing it's possible, about pursuing. So how they climbed Everest, how we got rockets to the moon. It was a desire, a decision, and a determination to keep going until they found the way. Now, what would that look like in your life if you were doing that? Just consider what might happen if you were giving that kind of energy to your dream. Now, what happens when you make that committed decision? What happens when you say, I'm going to go for that? I'm going to go for my dream. I'm going to go for my big goal. What happens is that a big gap shows up. A gap that seems insurmountable always shows up. I lived in London, and I used to think, why do they paint that on the side of the tube? Why don't they just fill the gap? And it's funny, really, because there are always gaps in life. They don't get filled. They get created for us to cross. They get created for us to pay attention, to understand something we didn't understand before. They're a challenge. So what is the gap that I'm talking about? It's the gap between where you are and where you want to go. It's the gap between here and there, wherever there is for you. It's the gap to the top of your mountain. It's always going to be there when you make a decision to do something you've never done before. And it can seem overwhelming. And it's so overwhelming that it causes you to think, I can't do this, I'm going to quit, I'm going to try later, it's not worth it, I'm never going to be able to manage this. But the truth is, if you want it enough, you can. You don't need to know how, you just need to focus on being there. So where's your there? Where do you want to be? What do you want to achieve in your life? You will face the gap, you will face the challenges that cause you to grow. But what are these challenges? What's in the gap? So typically, it's the negativity. It's the fear, doubt, worry, uncertainty, the lack of belief, the negative beliefs. The gap is in your mind. Yes, there's a physical gap between where you are and where you're going, but the biggest gap is in your mind. The gap about whether you think you can, whether you think you're capable. It's what do you believe? Now, we call them paradigms. Paradigms are really simply it's a pattern, isn't it? Paradigm from the ancient Greek, the old Greek, is a pattern of doing things, a pattern of thought, a pattern of behavior. But what are those patterns? They are thoughts, they are beliefs, they are our conditioning, they are our habits of action. Your paradigm controls what you do. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about this when I take you inside your mind. But just to introduce the word, the idea that there are paradigms that are preventing you from doing what you want to do. These paradigms are simply your belief systems, your self-limiting beliefs that are going to hold you back. And I'm going to show you how to change those. When you learn how to do that, anything becomes possible. The problem we have is we don't believe yet that we can do the thing we want to do. But when you do, you can actually make a quantum leap in your life. You can go from where you are to where you want to go. You can go from here to there very quickly when you change your paradigms, when you change your beliefs. So it's a little bit like you're standing on the edge of a cliff about to jump off. How many people have actually done this, been on a zip line, jumped off the edge of a cliff on a zip line? Not many people. So this time I did this, it was petrifying. The whole point is to actually cause you to be scared. So you're standing on the edge of the cliff. Yeah, you're attached to wires. You're going to zip down the wire. It looks exhilarating. It seemed like a good idea when you first decided to do it, but when you're on the edge of the cliff, it is not a good idea. The one I did, there was a platform 3 feet out from the edge of the cliff, and it was in California. And there were vultures circling overhead. And really? My mind was going, I mean, it's ridiculous to think, but my mind is going, someone, no, really? But the mind does that. What the mind does, it takes evidence from outside about why you shouldn't do something. So this is what happens with your mind. Whenever you do something you've never done before, something really big, it's like standing on the edge of the cliff about to plunge into the abyss, into the unknown. And there's a part of the mind, that paradigm, that's designed to protect you and keep you safe, that says, this is risky, this is dangerous, don't. And the more you're prepared to do it, the louder it gets. And it will come up with ridiculous ideas like, there's vultures, this is deadly. It will do whatever it takes to stop you. But here's the thing. When you do it, when you jump, the little voice shuts up. It disappears. Its job was to stop you jumping. But if you jump, it did its job. Yeah, they did it anyway. Nothing I can do. It shuts up. So when you actually do a zip line, what happens when you jump off the cliff is that you hit bliss. You hit this moment of pure bliss, emptiness. And it's a beautiful feeling because for a moment your mind is completely still and all you are is there in the air flying. Because you did the thing it didn't want you to do. So when you do the thing you fear, the fear disappears. probably heard that. When you do the thing you fear, the fear disappears. Because the little voice in the head is no longer trying to stop you from doing it. It's just going, oh, they did it. So sometimes it's the act of doing, taking the action, taking the next step, even if you're scared, that moves you forward. And to be really honest, you're not going to do anything big in your life if you don't do something you're scared of doing. If you're playing safe, you're never going to do it. If you're trying to avoid fear, you're never going to change your life very much. You have to do something that you're scared of doing sometimes. That's the nature of growth. And in fact, there was an author called Joseph Campbell, wrote Hero with 1,000 Faces, about mythology and storytelling. And he told it so well. Oh, let me get that. Went the wrong way, didn't I? There we go. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. This is the basic storytelling that we've done for thousands of years. It's the fear of the unknown. We tell stories about going into the cave to slay the Minotaur. We tell stories about going into the cave to slay the dragon. Well, these are mythical figures. They're actually slaying the demons in our mind. The cave we fear to enter holds the treasure that we seek. What is your cave? What is the place where you know the rewards are, the treasures in your life, that you are scared to enter because you're not ready, because you're not good enough, because you don't think you can? Fear and doubt is what holds us back. Fear and doubt is what fills the gap. And we give in to it, when really what we should do is move through it. So just like jumping off that cliff, you've got to do the thing you fear sometimes. Not to be risk averse, not to take stupid risks, analyze the risks, for sure, but don't be scared of taking risks if there's something you really want. So fear is a paradigm. Fear is a paradigm of the unknown. Our mind holds us back because it hasn't been programmed to do what you're trying to do. You don't have a paradigm for it. You don't have a belief system. You've never done it before. You don't know how to do it. So you convince yourself you can't. Well, this part of the mind does. So a paradigm, as we describe it, is a mental program in your subconscious mind that controls your habitual behavior, and almost all our behavior is habitual. From childhood, we are taught how to behave. We are taught our language, we are taught how to walk, we are taught how to eat. And as we learn these things, they become a fixed program in our mind, so we don't have to relearn them. So a paradigm is a program fixed in your mind, in your subconscious mind, of habitual behavior, habitual thoughts that allow you to navigate life. But if you don't have a paradigm for doing the thing you want to do, you won't do it. So what's in the way is your paradigm. And if you're going to do something you've never done before and achieve those goals, you've got to change the paradigm. You've got to replace the one that's holding you back with one that supports you. And truthfully, paradigms control everything in our life. They control our logic, how we think about things. They control our emotions, our moods, how we feel about things. They control how we manage time. Because we have these beliefs about time. There's never enough time. We're so busy now. Life's speeded up. Life's more complicated. This is a belief, not a truth. There are 24 hours in the day. It's how we use the time. And how we use the time is how we think about it. Your paradigms also control how much money you can earn. See, a person who earns £50,000 a year is thinking thoughts and beliefs of a person who knows how to earn £50,000 a year. They do not have the thoughts and beliefs of how to earn £150,000. They've never discovered that. And you're not going to discover it if you keep thinking from the beliefs that I can only earn 50,000 or 25,000 or whatever. And it's really hard to change that belief. Most people struggle. And I actually believe there are collective beliefs in a nation about earning money. I've always earned more money living overseas. I lived in Australia, New Zealand, America. I always earned more money there than I could earn here. I got some collective belief, probably beliefs picked up from my parents, right, and people around me. If you wish to earn more money than you're earning, you need to change the belief about whether you can and how you can. And remember, you don't know how to earn it, you just want to earn more. So I'm going to take you inside your mind in a moment and show you how to do this. Let me just give an example to make it easier. Smartphone, right? Loads of apps on here. Beautiful device, incredible device. Allows us to communicate with people all over the world. Allows us to message someone instantly somewhere else. Allows us to be on FaceTime and Zoom with somebody. And there are many of you here that I've worked with, seeing for the first time, meeting for the first time in person, because I've been working on Zoom with you. Crazy, isn't it? Beautiful and crazy at the same time. I can only do it because I have an app on my phone. If I don't have the app, I can't message you, I can't see you. So what's important about that? Well, the only reason you can't do something, the only reason you can't close the gap in your life, and to make this easy and memorable, is because you don't have an app for the gap. It's kind of amusing, lightly. But I use it to make it simple. I use it to make it memorable, because you need to remember these things. I'm going to fill your mind with a lot of information today. Some of it is going to be useful. Some of it is going to just go in and out, because it's too much. But I don't know who is going to benefit from what in this room. You're all using your minds differently. But this is a really good idea to remember. The only reason you can't close that gap from where you are to where you want to go is because you don't have a paradigm, you don't have a program for doing it, you don't know how yet. You don't believe you can, because you haven't downloaded the app into your mind. You haven't created the paradigm or the program that shows you how to do it. And I give you this idea because there are times when you're trying to go for this big goal, you're trying to pursue your dream, and you want to quit. At moments like that, you want to remember something that keeps you going. Well, the only reason it's hard, the only reason I can't get there is because I haven't downloaded enough information. I haven't got the app to cross this gap yet. What would your app look like? What do you need to put in your mind? So let me give you a visual demonstration of how this works before I go and show you what your mind does. Your paradigm controls your behavior. Your belief systems control what you can do and what you can't do. And it's subconscious programming. It's not your conscious mind, it's your subconscious programming. Your paradigms control your behavior. Behavior get you the results in life. If you don't like your results that you're getting, what we typically do is we try to do something different. We change our behavior, we change our actions, we do something different. And it doesn't work. We struggle, we get stuck. Why doesn't it work? Because it's not your behavior, not your actions that get you the results. That's the secondary cause. The primary cause is what you believe that allows you to take good action. So you may look in your own life, where am I not doing the things I need to do? Where am I not doing the things I want to do? Or your teams, the people around you, the people you support. Why are they not doing what they're trained to do? Because it's not the doing. It's the believing, the thinking that's controlling them. So we are controlled by our belief systems in our subconscious mind, and that's what allows us to do what we do. So if you're not doing what you need to do to get the results, to move forward, to live the dream, you can't force yourself. It works a little bit. You can try harder, but it doesn't really last very long. You've got to change what you think. You've got to change what you believe. You've got to change the way you think. So what I'm showing here is someone who looks like they're thinking differently. Yeah, if you notice when you kind of look up, you're thinking consciously. you're beginning to deliberately think instead of automatically think. Most people think automatically from the paradigms, from the subconscious mind. They don't consciously think. In fact, if I go back one slide, we have on that slide from the Proctor Gallagher Institute, results automatically improve when people begin thinking. Well, you say, well, people think, I think. Well, do you? Imagine when you wake up in the morning, are you thinking? Well, there's thinking going on, but are you thinking those thoughts when you wake up? No, you wake up already thinking. You were dreaming, now you're thinking. What's the first thought that comes into your mind? It's Monday morning, oh, I'm tired. How's your day going to go if you go, oh, I'm so tired today? Is that a good conscious thought? Why would you think that? If your day is going to go bad by thinking that, oh, I've got to deal with that client today, oh, I do not want to do that. How's your day going to go? Would you choose to think those kind of thoughts, negative thoughts, if you weren't thinking? No. You would choose a better thought. You would choose to think positive thoughts that support you, as opposed to negative thoughts that thwart you. So all our results come from our thoughts, our beliefs, our habits of behavior. It's our mindset. Our mindset is our thinking, our feeling or beliefs, and our behavior. That's your mindset. What you think, what you believe, what you feel, what you do. If you want to change the results in your life, if you don't like what's going on in your life, you want to change them, you have to change these three elements. And you have to know how to do that. So clearly, this is all about the mind. I'm going to take you inside your mind and show you what it looks like, show you how it works, show you what happens in there, and show you how to use it for you. But before I do, I want you to think about something. I've got a couple of questions to ask you to get inside your own mind first. I want to show you how it works. So when you came here today, maybe you didn't. Maybe you came by car, maybe you came by other transport. If you came by car, I want you to remember, I want you to think about what type of car it was, what color it was. If you didn't come by car, think about a time when you did go somewhere in a car. Just picture it in your mind, what type of car? What color? Where did you park it? Where is it parked? Can you remember the type or color of the car next to the car you came in? Can you remember where you parked your car? There will have been a time, either today or previously, where you've done this, you've remembered it, you've gone somewhere, and you come back, and you'll pause and say, where's my car? You'll think. What you're actually doing is you're asking your subconscious mind to remind you where your car is, because you didn't want to hold that memory for several hours. Well, I don't want to keep thinking where my car is. Just store it in my subconscious. It knows where it is. When it's time to walk out of the hotel room, you go, oh, where am I going? Where's my car? And you may need to remember what color your car is, what make it is. It's automatic. It's instant. You know. Well, where did I park it, though? What was the car next to it? Oh, that yellow Lamborghini. I remember where that was. Your subconscious mind takes it all in. It takes in everything. You can ask it. It will tell you if you ask it and believe it will answer. This is what we do. You walk out, you think, instantly, you know where you're going. It'd be so hard to find it if you couldn't do that. But that's not your conscious thinking, that's your subconscious. Your conscious is asking your subconscious mind tells it back. Now, when you're going for a big goal or a dream, you're consciously saying, I want to do this in my life. I want to start my business. I want to change my job. I want to earn more money. I want to be healthy. I want to. And you ask yourself, how am I going to do this? And your subconscious mind replies, I don't know. You're not good enough. And you listen to it and you accept it. When you ask, where's my car? It goes, well, it's on the 3rd level of the parking lot next door to you. Oh yeah, thank you. It knows where that is. But we listen to our subconscious mind like it knows everything. It knows the present and the past. It doesn't know the future. You create the future with your conscious thinking. So, you know what your car looks like. Let me ask you a more difficult question. What does your mind look like? What does your mind look like? Anybody? Cotton wool. Whoa. That's what it feels like. It's not what it looks like. Yes. Don't worry. No one's ever seen the mind. The mind isn't a thing. You can't see it. You can't picture it. It's an activity. It's an energy. Thought is a thinking energy. It's always active. We are always thinking. The mind is always thinking. Always active. But the problem is, we haven't seen it. We can't see it. It's not a thing. How are we going to fix it? How are we going to take control of it? So there was a psychologist in America in the 1930s who figured this out, that if we're going to change a person, we've got to treat them holistically. We've actually got to not treat symptoms. We've got to treat the cause. We've got to help them change their mind. But as human beings, we think in pictures. It helps us if we think in pictures and image something. And if we can't picture the mind, we can't work with it. So he created a visual representation of the mind. And this is what he created. Oh, so simple. Stick person. We all laugh when we first see it. Like, yeah, but what? We've got to keep this simple, otherwise the mind will confuse itself. So, top circle represents the mind, bottom circle represents your body. Top circle is divided into two to make this simple: conscious mind and subconscious mind. Together, they control the body, what you do. This diagram really works when you understand how it works. It is so useful because, once again, it's like the app for the gap. It's memorable. You can picture it, you can see it, you can work with it. When I explain how it works, you will get it. So the conscious part of the mind is the thinking part that you create with. You think with this. You consciously think. You dream up ideas. You create. The subconscious part of the mind, you express. It's your emotional part of the mind. It's your feeling. It's where you believe. And it's how you express your thoughts. It's how you get into action with your body. So the conscious mind is where you have ideas. It's where your dreams are. When I ask you, what do you want? What do you want to do with your life? What's your purpose? Where are you going? Where do you want to be in a year? I'm asking your conscious mind because your subconscious mind doesn't know where you want to be in the future. It only knows where you've been and where you are. Your conscious mind is coming up with the ideas and the dreams. But your subconscious mind holds the beliefs about what you're capable of. And it tells you through feelings, emotional feelings. And the simplest thing is, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like I can. We always talk to ourselves about our feelings. What do you feel like is possible? What do you feel like you can do? This is coming from the subconscious mind. And you will feel it physically in your body. But it's the subconscious mind that controls what you do. It's not your conscious mind. So if you ever say, I'm going to do this, or you hear people say, I'm going to do this, and they don't, it's not because they don't want to, it's not because they didn't try, it's because they didn't believe they could in their subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is controlling what you do. And it's based on programming from your parents, from your teachers, from your past. The subconscious controls what you do. If you're trying to do something you've never done before, your mind is going to look for evidence in the past. If it can't find it, it's going to tell you can't do that. You've got to take control of your mind if you're going to do anything. You've got to create a new mindset for what you want to do. You need to create a mindset that supports your dreams, your vision. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck and struggle. So most people, in my experience, get stuck in life at some point. They struggle with what they want to do. They don't think they can do it. They quit. They give up on the dream. And I'll ask this often, what dream are you holding back on? What dream have you parked on the shelf? What is the thing that you wanted to do but you've never done because you didn't think you could? Well, I hope by seeing this today, it's starting to reignite some dreams in you. William Shakespeare figured this one out. Measure for measure, I think. Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. Doubts. Doubts in the paradigm. Doubts in the subconscious mind. I doubt I can do this. I doubt it's possible. What stops us is our doubts, our lack of belief that we can do it. And he's saying, yeah, your doubts are traitors. They're not the truth. They hold you back. They stop you getting what you want in life because they make you fear. They make you fear, they make you scared of jumping off the cliff. Now that's maybe a dramatic example. Where's the small example in your life where you are holding back and being scared of taking that jump? Yeah, I've worked with people in this room who have got themselves promoted at work or started a business. When they didn't think they could, they doubted it was possible. But they did it because they wanted to, and they understood that they didn't need to listen to those doubts. They needed to listen to their desires. Make your desires stronger than your doubts. Make your beliefs match your dreams. You've got to get both sides of the mind working in harmony. You've got to get your subconscious mind to support your conscious dreams. Most of the time, they're in conflict. If you want to do something, you're not doing it, you're feeling it's a struggle, it's just because the two parts of your mind are in conflict. We want to get them in harmony. How do we do that? How do we get our mind, two parts of the mind in harmony so that I can take action? And it's easy. You've got to create new beliefs that actually match your goals and your dreams. So I was working with a business owner in America last year. He has a communications and PR agency. And at the beginning of the year, I asked him, what are your goals for the year? I haven't really set them. So I chose them for him. Why don't you increase your income by 50%, reduce the time you spend working in your business by 50% because you work too much, and make it easy? He said, well, I like that, but I don't see how. You don't need to know how. You know this stuff. Would you like it? That's the starting point. Would you like that? Yes, I'd love that. Okay. Are you committed to doing what it takes to get there and listening to what I tell you to do? Yeah, okay, I'll do that, but I don't see how it can be. Don't see how it can be easy. No, I don't want you to tell me how it can't be. I want you to think it can be. See, our mind works against us instantly. Wow, I don't think I can do that. It took him 6 months to increase his income by 100% a month. He figured out that by employing other people in his business, he could reduce the amount of time he was working. And when he figured out how to do it, it was so easy. But he didn't believe that. He didn't even have the concept that he could even do that. He wasn't thinking that. He needed someone to plant the idea in his head. I mean, he had to do all the hard work to figure it out, but it's possible. But we don't always ask ourselves the right questions because the little mind stops us, the little voice stops us straight away. Oh, you can't do that, that's crazy. We don't even have the ideas coming into our mind. How do we get those new ideas? How do we get those new beliefs? You consciously choose something you really want. You decide you want it enough to do what it takes. And you think from that idea. You think about it every day, all day long. If you do that, you start to build the belief. Now, you can just choose to believe, but there's a very powerful voice in your head that's countering that. How do you create the new belief? And I'm going to show you a little bit more in detail. You have to hold the idea every day. You have to want it enough that you build the belief. Then you can take the action. Then the action becomes easy. But here's the problem. The mind is a bit like an iceberg. 90% of your thinking is beneath the surface. 90% of the ice in an iceberg is beneath the surface. Same with your mind, your thoughts. Most of your thoughts are subconscious. You're not thinking. Thinking is going on in our mind. But we're not consciously thinking every day, how am I going to do this? What do I want to do? What's my next action? What do I need to believe? What do I need to think? We're not thinking like that. We're just going along with what shows up. But with just 10% of our thinking capacity, we can change our life. We can transform it. Because what you're doing is you're using your conscious mind to choose new thoughts, new beliefs that you store in the subconscious mind. And once they are stored there and become a new belief and a new paradigm, the mind works for you. But you've got to tell it what you want. Otherwise, it has no idea what it is you want. You've got to be willing to show it. So how do we do this? We have to pass new ideas into the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind controls what we do, controls our future. We have to be willing and able to pass the new idea into the subconscious mind. We have to create the belief that we can. We can't work to do something new if we're working against ourselves by thinking we can't do it. I don't believe yet, but if I try harder, I'll believe. You've got to create the belief so that the action is easy. When you do that, you get a positive reaction in the world, and you get the results you want. Okay, simple enough. I'm going to show you how to do this. Effectively, what you're doing is you're taking an idea from the conscious mind, passing it to the subconscious over and over by thinking about it, and it creates a feeling in you. I love this. I'm beginning to feel that maybe this is possible. That's what you'll hear yourself say. I'm beginning to feel that maybe I can do this. When that's happening, you know you're getting progress. You know you're on the right track. I'm beginning to think that maybe I could do this. There'll be lots of bumps in the road along the way, but you start to believe, you start to build that belief by being emotionally engaged with your idea, falling in love with the idea. You've got to love the dream. If you don't, it's not worth it. So effectively, the technique of creating new beliefs and changing your mind is what we call auto-suggestion. Once again, coming out of Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, auto-suggestion is giving yourself an instruction, a directive, a suggestion. Suggesting to yourself that you can do something that you can't do right now. Suggesting that you believe your dream is possible. In the beginning, we're just suggesting it. We have this idea that maybe it's possible because I want it, I love it, it's coming from inside of me. I'm not being given this idea unless it's possible. I choose to believe it is possible. Auto-suggestion is the repetition of a new idea so that it takes root in the subconscious mind. Right now you have this idea. This is what I'd love to do. This is my dream. This is my goal. No matter what it is, I'm thinking about it. And I'm thinking about it so much, I'm obsessing with it. I've fallen in love with the idea. I'm obsessive about it. You'll hear people around you say, you're so obsessive about that idea. Yes, that's good. They're trying to tell you not to go for it. But if you hear that, it's a good thing. You've got to fall in love with the idea. You've got to fall in love with the dream. You've got to be obsessive about it. You've got to think about it every day. This is how we learn language. This is how we learn anything, repetition. You were taught your language by your parents. You were taught your name by your parents. They kept calling you Stuart, Stuart, Stuart. Eventually, this little baby turns around and realizes that this noise is him. It's how we learn language. It's how we learn to walk. It's how we learn to drive. Repetition, repetition, until we get it. That's all auto-suggestion is, telling yourself what you want until you create the belief. But we don't understand how to do this. We just do it automatically. We don't understand what we're doing. But when you do, when you see what's going on, now you can use it. Now you can use it constructively, consciously. We become what we think about. Ralph Waldo Emerson, we become what we think about all day long. When I first heard this quote, and Bob Proctor used to use it a lot, we become what we think about all day long. I used to think, well, nobody thinks anything all day long. How can you think something all day long? That's not possible. But we are. We're always thinking. All day we are thinking. We never stop thinking. Some people say there are 30,000 thoughts pass through the mind every day. Well, there's certainly thousands of them. It never stops thinking. But what are you thinking? Well, the truth is, what you're really thinking about is what you've already got. All day long, you're thinking about your life today. What you're thinking about all day long is who you are in the present, maybe your challenges, maybe your struggles, maybe the work you have to do, or you're thinking about the past. You're not thinking about the future. We are not creating the future. But really what this comment is saying is if you want to create a new paradigm, a new set of beliefs, a new mindset to get what you want, you must be willing to think about it every day. all day long. It's like, well, nobody does that. Well, you already are. You're thinking about something, so why not think about what you want instead of what you've got? Because if you keep thinking about what you've got, you'll keep getting it. It won't change by itself. What are you thinking? What are you willing to think? And I'm going to give you a technique and a device at the end to help you do this. It's a brilliant technique, and I'll show you how this works. So, come on. So in this final part of the presentation, I'm going to give you some examples, some techniques to help you shift this paradigm that's got you where you are. Look, there are positive paradigms, negative paradigms. Paradigms are good because we're programmed to do what we're doing. They're bad because they're not programmed to get us where we want to go. If you want to go somewhere else, you've got to have a new paradigm. We've got to have a paradigm shift. And we're hearing this phrase more often now. In politics, in sport particularly, we talk about a paradigm shift. Stephen Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, wrote about this. A paradigm shift moves us away from one way of seeing the world. What does he mean by this? Perspective. We view our world and our life from a particular perspective. This is the way it is. This is the truth. But it's not. If we are willing to change our perspective of our life and the world and the things around us, then our life changes. Wayne Dyer said that, right? Another great teacher. When you change the way you look at something, the thing you look at changes. When you change the way you look at something, the thing you look at changes. It's the same with people. People around you, closest to you. We know them so well, we relate to them the same way all the time. But what if we looked at them differently, from a different perspective? They change. They don't do anything. Our thinking about them changes. For those of you that work with teams and support teams, a question: what could you think differently about your team that would have them change their behavior? Just a thought. It's a powerful question. So paradigm shift. It's a resetting of the mindset. We've talked about it. Thoughts, feelings, beliefs, actions. If you're going to get different results, you've got to change your thoughts, feelings, beliefs, actions. You must have different beliefs to support the goal. You've got to change your mindset. How do you do that? We use the mental faculties we already have. 2 questions. A simple one. Who's familiar with those 6 mental faculties? Raise your hands just to get the energy moving. Come on. Everyone knows those mental faculties. You're familiar with them. Reason, perception, imagination, will. How many people know that they consciously use them every day? That you're consciously thinking and using them? We know what they are. We know we have them. We recognize the words. Are you using them? Typically, we don't. Not many people do. Not consciously. Because we've never been taught to do that. We just have them. We know the words. They're labels. Yeah, I reason. Sure. I know what perception is. I don't use it, but I know it. Imagination. How much am I using my imagination to create my future? Do you use your imagination for you or against you? See, a lot of the time we use our imagination against us. We imagine what we don't want. Oh, I don't want that to happen. Oh, that'd be terrible if that happened. We're always doing that. But how does that create anything? That just scares us. It worries us. We're using our imagination against us. How often do we use our imagination for us? And it's such a powerful tool. In fact, Napoleon Hill said it this way: the imagination is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known. Wow. That is a very strong statement, right? The most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known. Why does he say that? Do you recognize that as being true? The reason he said that is because everything gets created first in someone's imagination. Everything. The mic I'm holding, the laptop I'm using, the chairs you're sitting on, I hope they're comfortable. Everything that we use gets created in somebody's imagination first. That's how powerful it is. We create our world with our imagination. Are we using it consciously? Are we using it deliberately? Are you using it to create what you want? Or to scare yourself about what you don't want? So imagination, it's the starting point of everything. That's why I said at the beginning, what do you dream of doing? What do you dream of having in a year? Are you dreaming? Are you imagining your future, or are you just struggling with your present? So we call it thinking from the inside out. Most of us think from the outside in. We look at our world, we look at our life, we say how it is, we look at the circumstances, we report back on ourselves of how it is. This is terrible, this is difficult, this is a challenge, this is a struggle, I wish it wasn't this way. We're thinking from the outside in. We need to think from the inside out. We need to use our imagination. We need to use perception and reason more deliberately. We need to go inside our mind and start to consciously think from the future that we want to create, the mountain we want to climb. We need to consciously use our imagination to create the future we want. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. And if we do it haphazardly, half-heartedly, inconsistently, it doesn't happen, or it takes a long time. We become what we think about all day long. We want to be constantly thinking of and from our goals. We want to be thinking from there. Most of the time we're thinking from here, where we already are. We're thinking about the problems we have. We're thinking about the challenges. We're thinking on a frequency of energy, an energetic frequency of where we already are. And if you keep thinking about what you've got, you keep getting it. Nothing changes. See, everything is on a frequency. The bottom of the mountain is on a different energetic frequency in our mind from the top of the mountain. What do I mean by this? Well, imagine the smartphone. Every phone has a frequency. We call it a number, but it's a frequency. It's an electromagnetic frequency, a radio wave, right? And I think most phones are, it doesn't matter, blocked in tens. Every phone has its own frequency, its own number. If I put your number in my phone, I get onto your frequency. It rings wherever you are in the world, because your phone has a frequency. Everything is energy. I think Einstein wrote about this. Everything is energy in the world. And energy is a frequency. Everything has its own frequency, or it wouldn't exist. So your dream is on a different frequency in your mind than your present reality. The simple way of saying this is you've got to think from your dream. You've got to put your mind, your attention on your dream. Where do you want to be? You've got to imagine the future. When you do that, you are placing your mind on a different frequency where you can get answers, you can get ideas. Think of it this way. If you're climbing the mountain, you're at the bottom of the mountain, and you're looking around you, you're thinking thoughts of how do I take that next step? How do I get to the first base camp? You're not thinking about the last step to the summit, because that's no use to you. You don't need to know how to climb that last bit of the mountain. You don't need to know how to get past that rock face. You need to know how to take the next step. But if you place your mind, your imagination, into the future you want, you're going to get the ideas of how to take that last step. When you place your mind in the future of what you really want, you are connecting with the ideas about how to get it. The ideas of how to get to where you want to go, the how, are not here today where you are, but that's where most people are thinking from. They're thinking, how do I get to the top? You need to place yourself on the top to find the answer. When you're at the bottom of the mountain saying, how do I get to the top? What you're really saying is, I don't know how. You're asking the question, how do I do that? It looks really hard. You're on the wrong frequency. You've got to place yourself where you want to be. You've got to think from the end. You've got to be using your imagination to place yourself, your mind on the frequency of where you want to go. Steve Jobs explained it. He maybe wasn't thinking of it this way. You can't connect the dots looking forwards. You can only connect them looking backwards. When the mountaineers were trying to climb Everest, they could not figure it out from the bottom. But once Edmund Hillary got to the top, he was able to tell everybody else how he got there. He looked back. Oh, that's how I did it. He couldn't stand at the bottom of the mountain and work out how to get there and be sure he was going to get there because it had never been done. That's what Jobs meant by, once you get there, then it becomes easy, clear. Now you know how to get there. You can tell other people how to get there. So you won't know how to get there in the beginning. You'll only know how to get there when you're there. So you've got to trust that you'll find the way. You've got to believe it's possible. How do you do it? You use your imagination to really place yourself where you want to be in a year's time, 3 years' time, 5 years' time. You've got to place yourself with such vividness that you see it, you think it, you feel it as if you already are there. Then you get the answers about how you will get there, because then you can ask the question, well, how did I get here? What do I need to do first to move towards this place? And your mind will give you answers. For every question, there has to be an answer. Every question has an answer. We just need to be on the right frequency to hear it. We also need to use our intuition. I'm going to read something, a very short passage from a book. I'm going to need my glasses for this because the writing's too small. That explains how we typically think. This is what we typically do instead of what we should do. So this is a story by an author called Price Pritchett, American author, business author. I'm sitting in a quiet room at the Millcroft Inn, a peaceful little place hidden back among the pine trees about an hour out of Toronto. It's just past noon, late July, and I'm listening to the desperate sounds of a life or death struggle going on a few feet away. There's a small fly burning out the last of its short life's energies in a futile attempt to fly through the glass of the window pane. The whining wings tell the poignant story of the fly's strategy. Try harder. But it's not working. The frenzied effort offers no hope for survival. Ironically, the struggle is part of the trap. It is impossible for the fly to try hard enough to succeed at breaking through the glass. Nevertheless, this little insect has staked its life on reaching its goal through raw effort and determination. This fly is doomed. It will die there on the windowsill. Across the room, 10 steps away, the door is open. 10 seconds of flying time, this small creature could reach the outside world it seeks. With only a fraction of the effort now being wasted, it could be free of this self-imposed trap. The breakthrough possibility is there. It would be so easy. Why doesn't the fly try another approach, something dramatically different? How did it get so locked in on the idea that this particular route and determined effort offer the most promise for success? What logic is there in continuing until death to seek a breakthrough with more of the same? No doubt this approach makes sense to the fly. Regrettably, it's an idea that will kill. See, trying harder isn't necessarily the solution to achieving more. It may not offer any real promise for getting what you want out of life. Sometimes, in fact, it's a big part of the problem. So if you stake your hopes for a breakthrough on trying harder than ever, you may kill your chances for success. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Do we not just try harder and not get anywhere? Do we not waste energy trying to do that like the fly breaking through the window? Why do we do that? You know, Einstein said the same thing, that the level of thinking that got us here is not the level of thinking that's going to get us there. That's a really big paraphrase of what he wrote. We keep thinking that if we keep doing what we're doing, we'll get there. when we need to use our perception to change our point of view and do it differently. Be willing to think differently. Be willing to think from the result instead of the circumstances. Be willing to think inside out instead of outside in. So what opportunities may exist if you think differently? So like that client in America, I put an idea in his head and he doubled his company's income, his monthly income. It wasn't an idea he was thinking of. It wasn't an opportunity he was looking for, because he never even considered it was possible. His mind wouldn't let him think that way. So that's why we say, what is it you really want, not what you think you can have. You've got to think from what you want. Otherwise, your logic of the paradigm will just not give you any ideas. So thinking from there instead of here. Thinking from where you want to be instead of where you are. When you do that, you're putting your mind on the frequency of new ideas. This is how you get the idea of how to get there. See, most people look at the problem they've got and they think from the level of the problem and they expect the solution to be in the problem. No, the problem is the problem. The problem is not the solution. The problem is only the problem. I think there's a saying, right, a line in a movie, one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Your problem is not the problem. Your problem is you're thinking about the problem. If we're thinking problem, we've got problem. And it makes us feel bad. We have to think solution. We have to think from where we're going, what we want, not where we're at. So begin with the end in mind. What is it you really want? Think from there. What is the solution you want? And then we're going to use auto-suggestion to get ourselves there. So I mentioned auto-suggestion before. These are the effective steps of creating the new belief that allows you to take the action to get the results you want. You have to see yourself there in your imagination. You have to think that you are there. You've got to feel emotionally what it's like to be there. I would always recommend writing out a description of what you want, because it keeps you connected with it. And it is a form of auto-suggestion to read every day what it is you want, to create the belief you can have it. And then, yes, you need to take action to move yourself closer to the goal. But here's the thing. Taking action is really hard if you don't believe it's possible, if you haven't programmed the subconscious mind to support you, if you don't have the beliefs that support the action. It's really hard. I notice some people are taking notes on this. That's good. Writing it down imprints it in the mind. You can download these slides from my website. You can do that by taking a photograph of one of the QR codes, downloads. These slides are available from that website if you need a recap of these ideas. This is how you create belief. You've got to use your mental faculties over and over every day until you start to feel it's possible. You can't stop halfway through because it's not showing up. It's like planting seeds and expecting them to grow in a couple of weeks instead of a couple of months. Repetition is how you learn your language. It's how you learn anything. Repetition of auto-suggestion about what you want and what you need to believe. This is how you change your paradigm. And then you want to use intuition. Intuition will give you the answers of how. Most of us don't use it very well. You've got to train yourself to trust your intuition, to listen. The paradigm is a really noisy voice in your head. Intuition is a whisper. But if you ask yourself, how am I going to do this? How am I going to move towards my goal? How am I going to achieve this? If you ask yourself how, you will get an answer, but you've got to be able to listen for it. You've got to be prepared to hear the answer. Someone I was helping last week, she says, I get most of my answers in the shower. Yeah, that energy of water around you changes the frequency that your mind's on. It puts you in a relaxed state where you can hear your intuition. I will contend that every question has an answer. If you're asking with curiosity, not desperation, and you have an open mind willing to listen, your intuition will tell you the answer. It works for you. Paradigm works against you. There's an example of this that I sometimes share. Gosh, this was living in Australia. My intuition spoke to me in a dream. So I was moving back from Australia. I'd been living there for a few years, and I had a large amount of money tied up in a bond, a rental bond, on my flat, and I wanted to get it back. And I'd been living there so long, I'd forgotten where the receipt was. No idea. But I needed it because it was quite a bit of money. I wanted to get it back. I could not find this anywhere, and I did not own a lot of things. So I used this technique that the personal development teacher taught me, which is to ask your intuition. So relaxing just before you go to sleep at night, really relax, really ask the question, where is it? Not out of panic, not out of desperation, out of curiosity. Ask yourself silently 3 times, where's my receipt? And then fall asleep. And in my dream, my intuition answered. The dream was crazy. It was, I recognized a friend in the dream who said, can you give me a lift home? My answer in the dream was, yeah, I've got an English driver's license. I can give you a lift home. Didn't make any sense, but I woke up instantly. It's like, oh, that's where the receipt is. I had an old style driver's license that was paper. It was a trifold, and I'd stuck the receipt inside it, put it in a plastic pocket, and put it away. There was no way I was ever going to open that, ever. But my intuition, my subconscious mind, had seen me put it there. The subconscious sees everything, like it knows where your car is. And it woke me up with a dream that I'd recognize. That's my intuition speaking back to me. If we believe in it, if we use it, if we train ourselves and practice using it, it will answer any question. So how am I going to do this? What's my dream? How am I going to achieve it? If you're going to achieve it, there's an answer to that question. And it doesn't have to be a struggle. If you're willing to ask the question and answer. So ask your intuition how. Listen for the answer. It'll come to you in unexpected moments. But when it does come, be willing to act on it. Because if you fail to act on it, it might not tell you again. I already told you that. You didn't act on it, you don't want it. We need to take action immediately, even if we're scared. You need to jump off that cliff, even if you're scared. You need to take action when you get good ideas, otherwise you're wasting them. Be willing to take action. It's important. So to make this simple, I got a couple of techniques that I'm going to share with you before we wrap up to help you remember what I'm talking about, to help you remember some of the things that I'm sharing. So most of my clients know what CYT stands for. Hand up if you know what CYT is and you're willing to share it with the room. Nobody remember? Emma, CYT?
Choose your thoughts.
Choose your thoughts.
Change your thinking.
Change your thinking. Yeah, those are 2 of them. Yeah, perfect. This is an acronym that I was given by my teacher back in 1987. I've used it ever since. I teach it to some people. Some people will say, I can hear you saying it in my mind when I struggle. CYT, it's a really clever device to just remember things easily. If you're going to change your life, you need to change your thinking. CYT. Catch yourself thinking. First thing, you need to be aware of what you're thinking. Change your thought. If you're having a negative thought that says you can't do something, you've got to change that thought. Practice choosing your thoughts. And then start to practice controlling your thinking. See, I keep saying that we think automatically. Our paradigm thinks for us. We're not consciously thinking. Most of the time, 80–90% of the time, we're thinking automatically. Thinking is going on in our mind, but we're not thinking. So if you're struggling, if you're having an off day, if you're feeling negative, if you're feeling upset, if you're feeling less than you want to feel, you're emotionally involved with the wrong idea. You're thinking the wrong thoughts. Notice. Catch yourself. What were you thinking? What are you thinking? What was I thinking? You will see that you had a negative thought about something. Negative thoughts come with negative feelings. They make you feel bad. but you have the power to change them. We have the power to accept or reject any idea that enters the mind from outside or inside. We have the power to accept or reject any thought. Most of us just accept the thoughts because they showed up. Be aware of what you're thinking. Catch yourself thinking. Change it if you want to. Choose the thought that you want to think. Why would you think that thought? Why would you wake up in the morning and say, this is going to be a terrible day? I hate today. Why would you choose that? It's going to leave you feeling bad. Choose a better thought. Start to take control of your thinking, and you will have better days. Better days will lead to good action that leads to the results you want. This stuff is quite simple. What's hard is practicing it because there's a paradigm in your mind trying to stop you. So CYT is a very simple technique to write down, memorize, and start to practice using. Just investigate it. And what you're really doing is, going back to the stick person, is you're taking a conscious thought, putting it into the subconscious mind to create a new belief so that you move into action to achieve your goals. Planting new ideas with repetition. So 3 things that I'm going to share as steps for you to use, to practice. And then I'm going to give you a technique and a tool that will help you. 3 things, right? Imagination. You've got to imagine the goal that you want, the dream. You've got to imagine the result that you want. You've got to use your imagination to place yourself there, to picture your mountaintop goal. Got to use your imagination. Now, you've got to believe that it's possible to get there as well. I love the Henry Ford quote, right? Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. You've got to at least think it's possible. Because if you think you can't, you won't. You really won't. You've got to at least think it's possible. And want it. Second, so you've got to start thinking from how you can instead of why you can't. Most people think why they can't do something. Do you really want to do that? Do you really want to achieve that dream? Do you really want to have that success in your life? Yes, but I can't. But. Yes, but. Kills many dreams. Think of how you can instead of why you can't. Start to think for you instead of against you. Start to use that imagination and thinking for you. Action. We need to take action. This quote, really powerful idea. Successful people form the habit of doing things that failures don't like to do. The reason we fail is because we don't do things that we need to do to get the success. We don't do things that we need to do to be successful because we don't like doing them. Actually, what doesn't like doing them is your paradigm. Say, well, I need to do this. I need to make some calls. I need to get some more loans. I need to move to another country. And you'll have a feeling that says, well, I don't like having to do that. Every one of us in this room, me included, have things that we could be doing right now that would move us closer to our goals and make a difference, but we don't really like doing them, so we do something else. What are you doing? What are you not doing? What are you putting off doing? What decision are you not making that would change your life because you don't like what you have to do? But here's the thing. Albert Gray was a writer and a lecturer in America, and he focused on success in business. And he discovered that really all successful people are willing to do something they don't like doing because they want the result that it gives them. They'd rather get the result than be comfortable not taking the action. So there will be things in your life that you'll have to do that are uncomfortable. But here's the thing, if you make the habit of doing it, after a while, it's no longer uncomfortable, it's just what you do. And if you form the habit of doing things you don't like doing, and that becomes a habit, it becomes easy. It's a very powerful idea if you're willing to accept it. Be willing to do things you don't like doing because you want the result it gives you. So, imagine, think, act. Very simple things. Imagine what you want, think about how you're going to get it, take the action. Very simple. And know that your paradigm's going to fight you. try to stop you. Don't listen to it. So I create those in 3 steps that make it easy to remember. Imagine your goal, think only of how you can, and make action a habit. Keep taking action when the ideas come from your intuition. It's going to move you forward. Now, this is the technique and the tool, the goal card. Bob Proctor created this from Napoleon Hill's explanation of how you achieve any goal. You write the goal down on a card. Very simple. Write your goal on the card, as if you've already achieved it in the present tense. Put some emotion into this. This card starts off with, I'm happy and grateful. I'm really happy. I'm really grateful that I have achieved, or that I am. You write it in the present tense as if you've already got it, and you carry this with you and you read it every day. We become what we think about all day long. This is the technique for connecting you with your goal, with your dream, with your future every day. Read it when you get up in the morning. Read it before you go to bed at night. Picture yourself having achieved the goal. There are some steps to doing this, and I'm going to share them with you in an email later in the week to give you the precise steps to be able to do this. But what I am going to do today is, these cards are available on the back table. If you want one, if you want to use this technique, pick up a card on the way out. It's a very powerful technique. I can see some people nodding in this room because they've used them. There was a Hollywood producer, Phil Goldfine, who was a student of Bob Proctor's, and he used gold cards. He loved them. He used them to win an Oscar, an Emmy, and a Golden Globe. You can find his videos online where he tells you how he did this. He used this exact technique to win those awards, and he's one of very, very few producers who have won all 3 of those awards for theatre, film, and TV. He has a shoebox full of these gold cards. He uses a gold card for everything. He's one of the most successful producers in Hollywood that no one's ever heard of. He's the busiest producer. But yeah, he won his Oscar, his Emmy, and his Golden Globe because, he says, he used the gold card. What it does is it connects you with your dream. It connects you with the result you want. It programs your mind to believe it's possible. Auto-suggestion. So this is the most powerful auto-suggestion technique that I've ever come across. You write it down, you carry it with you, you look at it every day. You only have to touch the card after a while, and the picture of your goal comes on your mind. You only have to touch it, and you're already thinking this. This is very powerful. So I would recommend that you pick one of these cards up and practice using it. Very powerful technique. Okay, so thinking into results on the card, just so you know, there are people in the room who've done this. Thinking into Results is the program that Bob Proctor created. It's a program he created from 60 years of study and teaching personal development. And it's what he trained me to teach as well. And he would have said, he passed away this year, unfortunately, sadly, he would have said it's the most powerful personal development program on the planet, because he was looking for other programs that were better than his, and he couldn't find one. But it's a program that you can only get from consultants like myself. And there are several hundred of us in the world teaching this now. We are his legacy, and this is his legacy program. For my clients who have already done this, I'm actually going to offer you something later this month, an opportunity to do it again differently. But for anybody that hasn't done it, and you feel that what you've heard today is useful, what I'm teaching today is coming right out of this program. What I'm teaching today is how, the science of achieving your goals. If you like what you've heard today, and I'm going to take some questions in a minute, but I just want to make this invitation to you. If you like what you've heard today and you want to learn more, my invitation isn't to do the program. My invitation is to have a conversation with me about your goals. If I think I can help you, achieve them. If you've got something big in your life you want to achieve, I can tell you about the program. But right now, what I'm offering everybody is an opportunity to have a conversation with me about your goals and to learn more about this in a private conversation. You can do that at the back of the room on the table. Cassie and Monica have some forms at the back you can fill in to book a call with me. Now, if you like what you've heard, you've got some new ideas, some awareness, my suggestion is that you do have a conversation with me because you're in a heightened state of frequency of desire, of possibility, and I can help you cement that into your mind. It doesn't obligate you to anything. It's a 30 to 60 minute conversation with me, and I would definitely recommend you do that if you feel that you want to know more or you want some guidance or help on setting your goal. Okay, so you can do that at the back table. If you want to do that, you can do that now or when you leave. But what I really want to do right now is open up the room to questions or ideas. I want to know, let me go back one. I want to know what you think about goal cards. Who here has used a goal card to get results? Seda, would you share that? Would you share how you used a goal card to get results? Are you willing to do that?
I've got a couple of goal cards in my purse at the moment, so I just have a look at it daily. I look at it and I repeat it as many times as I remember a day. And I've used quite a few successfully. I think over the last couple of years I've probably made about 5, 6 goals. Yeah.
5. And did you use one for the house?
I definitely did.
You did?
And I shared that with my children as well. I've got a goal at the moment. Currently, well, actually, going back a bit, one of the goals that I achieved when I was on the Stepping Up program was to become the head of diversity and inclusion. So
Yep.
that was in 2018 while I was a Stepping Up participant. And I achieved that goal 3 years later. In between, I had other goals I was working on. But 3 years later, I am head of diversity and inclusion, so that's good. My current goal is to become a director of diversity and inclusion. So the goal card in my purse is about that.
Yep, perfect. So do you think using the goal card helped you? And in what way did it help you?
It's kept me focused on the goal, thinking about it as many times as I can during my working day, motivating myself at work, because when you're at work doing your day-to-day routine, sometimes you can get demotivated, tired of what you're doing. But if you've got a goal, then you're more positive that I've got something I'm trying to achieve. What's the next goal? So I find it useful to always have a next goal. So that keeps me motivated doing the job.
Yep, motivated, inspired, moving forward, growing in awareness, achieving incredible results, right? Which is what you've done. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else who uses goal cards like to share theirs? Emma?
I used a goal card for 2 different goals in the past. One was to get a detached house in the BS9 area of Bristol where I grew up, which is pretty much the most expensive area of Bristol, which I managed to do with my partner a couple of years ago. And the other one was to get a new job, but to stay kind of where I was working, but to earn more money, which I achieved about 2 years ago. They both happened at the same time, which was actually quite stressful, new job and new house. And I'm using them again to achieve 2 new goals as well.
Stressful, but you achieve what you wanted.
Yeah.
New job, promotion, new house in an area you wanted to live.
Yeah.
Do you think the goal card helped you?
Yeah, definitely, because especially with the job goal, because I enjoyed the job I was in, so it was easy to just stay in that job and sort of not push myself. But I was at a point where I knew what I was doing and there was going to be no further progress and nothing new to learn, and I needed a career change, but still working within the sort of area I was in, because I enjoyed working there, but I just wanted to do something different. And yeah, the goal card just sort of pushed me every day to think about looking for opportunities and ways to develop myself so I could move on to something different within that sector.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Yeah. So Emma pointed out something there that typically happens to us. We're comfortable where we are. We don't want to make the effort to do something more and gain something more. We'd rather, or that part of our mind, the paradigm, would rather keep us where we are. It takes some effort. It takes some consistency of thought to be able to do that. Anybody else? Yes, please.
Just a question.
Yeah.
Really. Say you've got more than one goal.
Yeah.
So I've got 4.
Yep.
What do you do with the cards? Do you have 4, or how would you approach that?
Yes, that's a good question. When you have more than one goal that you're working on, how can you keep your focused attention on one particular goal rather than scattered amongst many? Yeah. So 4 is a lot. You have to be able to manage your time, prioritize your time well to manage that. You would have 4 separate goal cards, but if any of them are supportive of each other or interconnected, you could blend them into one card. So it really depends on what type of goals they are. Sometimes they are connected and can be supportive of each other. Otherwise, 4, yes. I would never recommend going for 4 and really focusing on it, but you can. You can, absolutely, because if that's what you want and that's important to you. So sometimes goals are steps towards a really big vision, a big life change. Sometimes they are separate, big changes in our life. If they are big, significant, different goals, you have them on separate cards. Now, the challenge there is being able to hold those ideas in your mind often enough, to be able to practice thinking about each of them so that they each get the attention they need. So what happens there is often it might just take you longer to achieve your goals than if you only had one. It doesn't stop you from achieving them. It just sometimes takes it longer because you're splitting your attention and your focus between them. Does that make sense? Does that help in any way? Does it give you an idea of what you might do differently? Yeah? Are you going to keep all 4 goals? Ah, got it. It's good, yeah. Do you want to say anything about that? You can ask me about it.
I think I'll just focus on the 2 hard ones.
The 2 big ones.
The big
The 2 good ones. There are no hard goals.
I know. As I said, that,
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you notice that. You have the awareness that, I'm going to focus on the 2 that are really most important to me, that I really want. That's good. Yeah. Clarity. Say that.
No, it's just a quick one. I was just going to say on the house goal.
Yeah.
Because my daughter was the last week of term and we're living in a 2-bedroom flat, and my daughter said, okay, we've got to get this house before September when we start school. And I thought, she doesn't know anything about money or how you get a house.
Don't need
but,
it.
Actually, by October, a month after what she wanted, we were able to move in a house. So within 4 months, so July, August, September, October, we moved a house, and it was super quick. But then I had one goal and I focused on it, and it was quite quick. So I just wanted to say that for him.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Yeah, you had a goal that you really wanted urgently, so you gave all your attention to that goal so that you figured out the way to get it. You put all your energy, effort, attention into achieving that. And from memory, at the time, that looked like a really challenging goal to achieve, right? It was amazingly challenging. Incredible what you did to get it as well. But why do you think you did what you did?
I think, certainly for one thing, it was for my daughter.
Yep.
So I think, when your child is involved, and it's more.
Yeah,
you
you had a
more
purpose,
yeah,
strong emotional purpose.
it was
Yeah,
more emotional.
Yeah.
I talked about it a lot with my daughter.
Mhm.
I don't know if she knew, but she kept sending me photos of different houses. So it was like, ooh.
Yeah. So this is an example.
Yeah, I had to think about it daily.
Of creating the vision, the picture, the future in your mind, being there, thinking from the house that you're going to be living in, as opposed to thinking from where you are. How are we going to do this?
The other thing I did is viewing the houses, even though I didn't have the money literally then, the mortgage or anything, but I kept viewing houses, and I was like, oh yes, I'm going to get this house, but I didn't know how, but she kept pushing me somehow to do it.
Yeah.
And then it just happened.
It just happened. Where did you get your ideas from for the action you took that created an incredible result? Where did those ideas come from, do you think?
It was from the coaching with you, from speaking to colleagues. There was one time I went to the butcher's down my road, and I just told him I need to buy a house. Don't have much money. He was like, did you know it was 5%? And the governments are doing that sort of 5% deposit. Actually, I didn't. So my butcher helped me to get a house.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? It's like you start to ask questions. You're really asking questions of the world, of the universe, of the people around you. You're starting to ask crazy questions of people you wouldn't normally talk to. The resources always show up if you want something enough and you start to take action to figure out how. The resources always show up. It's like that quote I said of the mountaineers. Providence moves in your favor if you say you want something and you believe it's possible and you take illogical action. Yeah, what you did was illogical. I'm going to ask the butcher. Maybe he knows. No, you just speak what you want into the world and the world answers. Sometimes that's what we have to do. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Any questions about this? Any questions? Because usually I've given so much information, we often get overwhelmed and confused. Charlie.
Is there a sort of technique for distinguishing what your goals might be? Because I noticed a lot of the room is kind of around aspirations, sort of moving forward in life, achieving sort of property goals or financial goals. But are there techniques of looking at other ways of achieving goals? Would there be emotional goals like being happy in life, or how do you get to a point where you distinguish what that focus is going to be? Is there a technique around that?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. So if you want, so I said at the beginning, we have the potential to do, be, and have. So you're talking about a being goal. I want to be more. I want to be happy. I want to be confident. I want to be calm. Yeah, I work with people who want to change their emotional state. I was going to actually ask somebody who talked about happiness. Alex? She's not here? Okay. She did exactly what you're saying. She chose to start thinking about how happy she was at work. Instead of going into work like often we do, thinking automatic thoughts about, oh, I'm miserable, I really don't want to do this, this is difficult, this is terrible, having those negative thoughts in our head. She set herself an ideal vision of being a positive, happy person who helped the people around her be positive and happy. And like I said earlier, people around you change when you change the way you think about them. When you change the way you think about something, the thing you think about changes, including people. So who do I want to be is an excellent question. And it's the same thing. Auto-suggestion, telling yourself, this is who I am. I'm so happy and grateful that I'm happy. I am. Something that I created for myself, because I struggle, I'm a fairly soft personality, or I was. I'm strong and powerful in all situations and circumstances. That really helps me. Who do I see myself as being? And that's part of what I teach in the program, your self-image. You can never go beyond the image you hold of yourself. You need a powerful self-image. So yeah, I can be happy, I can be confident, I can be strong, I can be capable, I can be supportive of other people. It's the same technique. You're still giving yourself thoughts, instructions, feelings, and taking action. Act as if you are that person in the world. Act as if the person who is that, thinking like that person. So same system, auto-suggestion. I am a, yes?
How do you, sometimes I have so many goals,
Yep.
that's what you were saying.
Yeah.
But what, they're so vague, like, I want to earn more money.
Yep.
And I want a bigger house. But I literally, I think I feel like pinky in the brain at night. I literally go to bed trying to work out how to do this. And I wake up in the morning, back in the same place.
Yep.
No idea. Just get back on this.
That's good.
Run.
Yeah, that's really good. It's a good explanation of how human beings' minds work. We want something, we're not quite sure exactly what it is. We have a vague general idea of what we want. I'd like more money, I'd like a house. And then we think about where we're at. So our attention, our focus is on where we are here instead of there. So the answer to the question you're really asking is, do I need to be more specific? How much money do you want? What kind of house do you want? Where do you want it? So it's like Emma was saying she wanted a house, a detached house in is it BS 19, Emma? 9, sorry, yeah. specific. Now, the next part is don't want it. Well, it's good. You start with the idea that this is what I want, because this is the question I was asking. I have a desire for it. Once you've identified that, and you don't know how you're going to get it, you move on to the next stage, which is imagining you have it. So we want to change our language from wanting, which is lack. You're actually telling yourself, I don't have it. I want this house, I want a house, I want a house. Yep, well, if you want a house, you'll keep wanting a house until you tell me you've got a house. So I think what I taught Seda and Emma in the program is you now need to move from wanting to believing you have it, because you need to tell your subconscious mind that you have it. Now, this is illogical. Well, I don't even know how to get it, let alone have it. You are directing your subconscious mind to create the future that you want. The idea of the goal card is to place your mind in the future and see the life you want, to see yourself there, and to start to think like the person who's there, to feel like the person who's there, to believe it's possible. Because what you're doing is you're replacing the current belief that I want a house, I need a house, I don't know how, with the belief that I have it. When you do this, the subconscious mind starts to think about how you're going to get it, because its job is to help you get there. And it's going to help you by using your intuition. It's going to tell you what to do. But you've got to believe it's possible. You've got to imagine yourself there. There's it's an audio on YouTube by a guy called Neville Goddard. And if I'm right, Seda, it's called My Father's House in Barbados. Barbados. So if you search this, Neville Goddard, YouTube, Barbados, he explains how you place your mind in the future and you think from the future. You think as if you already are in your house. Seda was imagining being in the house. Emma was imagining being in her house, where it was, what it looked like. So the answer to your question is, get really clear what you want, where you want it, imagine you're there, and start to listen to your intuition about how you're going to get there with the expectation it will happen. Same with money. How much do you want? Why do you want it? What are you going to do with it? Your mind needs to know the details. It's not enough just to say, I want more money. Well, you could walk down the street, find a £10 note, and you've got more money. Universe delivered. What do you want? How much do you want? Why do you want it? How's it going to change your life? We've got to get really clear what we want. We've got to really think about how our life will look and how we will feel when we're there. We've got to place ourselves in the future. So you've got to place yourself at the top of the mountain as if you're there. Imagine what it's like there. Does that help?
Yes.
Yeah? Are you going to set yourself a goal for how much?
Oh, yes, I am.
Make it.
Looking at houses like Seda.
Yeah.
Start going viewing.
Yeah. Seda didn't know how she was going to get it. No idea. But she wanted it, and it was important. So she found a way. Look, our mind is very powerful. Our subconscious mind or intuition is incredibly powerful. Most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known. It can create anything. You've got to believe it. You've got to think what I'm telling you might be right. But if you do, you can start to use it. And it takes practice. The techniques are simple, but it takes some effort to get there. Is there anybody who's changed their mind about what's possible for them today? Have you had a thought that, you know what, actually, I think maybe I can do more, be more, and have more? Are you beginning to believe? Anyone beginning to believe that it's possible? Well, you are. Are you not? Have I not convinced you? Do you need more convincing?
Maybe some of us are there already. So.
Say that again.
Oh, maybe some of us are there already.
Yes, yeah, you may already be there. Where do you want to go next? Yeah, don't settle for where you are, because as I said earlier, goals aren't about getting something. They're about growing. When you set yourself the next goal, you're going to grow as a person. You're going to discover more about yourself. Sometimes we settle because life's good. I'm there. This is good. I'm happy with this. That's a good place to be. And now what? And if you're that happy with your life, what are you going to do for other people? That's often the question I ask people. How are you going to make a difference for others now that you've figured out life? There's always more. There's always more within us. So I talk about Bob Proctor. He trained me personally for 8 years. He died in February. He was 87. He was still working a few weeks before. He was still teaching people. He was still giving to people. He was still trying to achieve something more because he knew it wasn't about the money or the results. It was about his own personal growth. He was going to understand something about himself he didn't understand yet by challenging himself to do more, to be more, not to get more, to be more. What can I do with that being? But yeah, maybe we're already there. So where's the next place to get to? Have I not convinced you that you can achieve more? Is there something else? Should we go through it again? No, let's not do that. Actually, one thing. Tom is filming this for me. Thank you, Tom. At some point, I will make the recording available to you if you'd like to watch parts of it again. Anybody like to do that? Actually, just, show of hands. Who would like to see this recording so I know that I want to send it to you? Oh, wow. Thank you. Okay, good. Then I make the promise that I will give you a link at some point this month. Can't promise you exactly what day. So that you can look at it again. And you can download the slides, right? Let me put up the slide where it's actually on. That QR code that QR code may actually take you to the book a call with me. The QR code on the flyer you've got only takes you to the website stuartdoughtymindset.com. You have to add in /mindset. If you use a QR code, the one on the back door has that. That will take you there. You can download the slides. I'm going to email you a link to YouTube of this event. I'm going to assume that you said you'd like to see it because you found it useful. Just please tell me, was this useful? Really? Yeah. Really?
Fantastic.
Thank you. And I know, thank you for doing that, because sometimes I look at your faces and I think, wow, I've given you way too much and I've lost you. And I know what it's like. I've been there. Look, the information I give you today is life-changing if you use it. It really is. This is a program, Thinking Results is the program, what I'm teaching from. It works. People get results from it, but you've got to do the work. You've got to use it. You've got to use the techniques. Sometimes you need a guide, a mentor, a coach like me to help you along the way. I have one client, he was going to come today, he's not able to, he was running a marathon last night, in the night. We started working together in 2016, we still work together, and I say to him every year, do you still want to work with me? He said, yes. Why? Why can't you do this by yourself? He says, I can, but I get mindset maintenance from you. I feel better if I'm working with someone, if someone is there by my side. It's not what I recommend. I recommend people work with me for 6 months, do my Thinking into Results program, learn this and apply it to the rest of their life. Because this material is very powerful. I've never found anything in 35 years of studying and researching. And I've gone to Zen, I've gone to Buddhism, I've gone to the Vedas, gone to yoga, gone to Hermes. I've looked at the source material of personal development, and this program is as good as any. It gets results, but you have to do the work. Yes? Sorry?
Like how to control the voice that tells you that you can't do that.
Yeah. How to change that? How to change the voice? How to change the voice that tells you you can't do that? Yeah, it's a really good question. So, the voice never goes away unless you choose to send it away. It's funny. Yeah, it's a really good question because let me answer it in the easiest way. You change the voice by using CYT, by catching yourself thinking, hearing yourself say, I can't do that, I can't do that. Stop, catch yourself. That's not true, it's a belief, it's not a truth. Now, I say that the voice will never go away because it exists in the subconscious mind. What we're going to do is we're going to replace it with a different belief. It never vanishes completely, but we just shut it up by choosing. So CYT is your way of doing this. So catch yourself thinking, hear yourself saying, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I'm just not good enough. That's not true. It's not true. It's a belief you were given by somebody else, probably by your parents. Look, for example, I am the youngest of 2 sons. My brother is 9 years older than me. He did not want a little brother 9 years younger than him bugging him. Go away. You're useless. You're hopeless. Get out of here. I don't want you. What do you think that made me feel and think as a kid? I can still remember walking down the streets with some of my colleagues and I'm talking away too much. I talk too much. Talking away and they're saying, shut up, Stuart. Shut up, Stuart. Oh, yeah. Sounds like my brother. I need to shut up. People tell us things that we believe. People tell us we're not good enough. We are. So you have to choose to believe the opposite. There's a law of polarity in the universe. There is an opposite for everything. An opposite for everything. Day, night, asleep, awake. Can't have the inside of this room where we are without having the outside of the room. It's the same with your thoughts and beliefs. You can choose an opposite belief. You can choose to start believing you are capable. The truth is you are. You are capable of doing whatever it is you want to do, but someone told you you're not. You have the power to accept or reject any idea that enters your mind from somebody else or your subconscious. Stop believing that thought. Just stop. Choose to replace it with another one. Now that doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a day or a week or a month. You've got to convince yourself. You've actually got to reprogram your mind the way it was programmed. So your mind has been programmed like mine was, through repetition, by people telling you things and by you choosing to believe what they're telling you. It's going to take you a while to reprogram it. Reprogram your mind with what you want to believe about yourself. I'm strong and powerful in all situations and circumstances. Before I started doing speaking, I was hopeless at speaking. Seda said I went to Toastmasters. I needed to go to Toastmasters to learn to speak because I could not speak. So I created a phrase for myself, an affirmation, auto-suggestion. When I'm speaking, when I created, am I going to share this? Yes. I'm confident, charismatic, dynamic, and powerful. I'm confident, charismatic, dynamic, and powerful. Often when I'm speaking, that's how I show up. I walk out of the room, that goes, that's gone. He goes, he's just up here on the stage. No. And I created images, pictures of other people that I associated with those words. So here's a story. Confident, charismatic, dynamic, and powerful. Confident, the picture was James Bond, okay? Because that's what guys think of a confident guy, all right? I'm walking down Broadmead in Bristol one day. One of the charity workers was there trying to stop me, right? We've seen all those people. I'm walking really fast because I've got to get to the station to a meeting, and I'm actually doing my mantra. Wow. Because I'm thinking of the person I'm going to be later that day. And this charity worker, I'm not stopping for him, he's walking backwards. And he said, you remind me of someone. Okay. He said, you remind me of James Bond. What? That was the picture I had in my mind. He picked it up because I was being the embodiment in my imagination, and clearly in his, of this picture that represented confident to me because that's who I needed to be that day.
Which James Bond?
Yes, it was Daniel Craig.
Of course.
What do you think? Yeah. Okay. But here's something interesting. So one of my clients here in Bristol, she didn't feel she was very confident. So she was creating an affirmation for herself about being confident. So we did the same thing. Picture someone, picture a woman, you know, a person that you admire. So she had, I can't remember who it was, but she had this picture of who she felt was a confident woman that she would like to be like. And she's in a bar one night, and some guy comes up to her, and he said to her, you know, I really like you. I like the way you behave. You remind me of somebody. You remind me of someone really confident. You remind me of Margaret Thatcher. And she went, no, that is not my picture. But that was his interpretation of her idea of herself. He just thought she, okay. She was not amused. That relationship went nowhere. But yeah, so does that begin to give you a sense of what to do? Just stop listening to the old belief and choose your own. Who do I want to be? What do I want to be? And you can write that on a gold card. So Charlie, the same thing. You write it on a gold card. You write an affirmation, you write a description of who you want to be, how you want to feel. And you read it every day and you start to think from that place. What are we doing? We are instructing our subconscious mind to create a new paradigm of the person I want to be, of the life I want to have. And your subconscious mind will get to work on creating the opportunities for that to happen. Okay. So I've kept you captive for quite a while, and I think we should wrap up. Any other questions? I will take some more. I will be out the back. Do you have a question? No? You think of something else? Okay. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? Any observations that you wish to share or need to share? And some of you that I've not seen for a while, I know you'd like to speak with me. I'm going to be around. I'm staying in the hotel tonight. Oh, actually, that's the point. If anybody wants a private conversation with me tomorrow, I'm going to be in this hotel and I have a free empty day pretty much. If anybody wants to book a meeting with me, talk to Monica and Cassie at the back, and they will do that. That's not my phone, is it? Because I realise I just never turned mine off. All right, so if there are no other questions, on your way out, do pick up a gold card. Start to use that. And before you write on the gold card, practice writing your goal first. If you'd like a private conversation with me about thinking results, about helping you achieve your goals and get clarity and achieve them, ask Monica and Cassie for a form. You just fill out your phone number, your name, and I will contact you. If you want a meeting with me tomorrow, ask specifically for that. So I just want to thank you for your attention, for your time, for being here. My purpose is sharing personal development wisdom with people, so I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do that today. I really do. Thank you, and I appreciate you telling me that it was worthwhile. Thank you. Hi.
I just want to say thank you. It was lovely to see you.
Oh.
Really enjoyed the presentation.
Good to see you.